Welcome back to a new video of Throttle and Gear. Here we are at Tambaram, Chennai, and we are at the KTM dealership actually. So no, I'm not getting a new bike from KTM, but we are checking out some new bikes from KTM. These are the 390s. We have the Bajaj dealership also, and we'll go to KTM, that's better. So this is the Duke 390. We all know what the Duke 390 is. It's a mean looking machine, a very great street bike, a very great single cylinder 400cc bike. So the new Duke has been here for a while. This is the front proportion of the bike. The headlight is very mean. The lighting game is very good on the bike. These are the switch gears, start gear, and this is the mode switch for the screen. It is curved in actually. That's the horn, that's the indicator, that's the hazard light, and that's the flash for the headlight. That's the display, and the controls are given here. This is the shock of the KTM, and it is a pretty good feeling shock. For a street bike, it's very comfortable actually. And the tires are mid-seller tires. It's pretty low profile and it grips well kind of for a street bike. It's not very performance-y compared to some other sports bikes. The overall side view of the KTM Duke is very nice. Even though it's a short wheelbase, the bike is overall a very good looking bike. This is the 399cc engine. Even though it has greater power, it is a little less reliable. That's where the question comes. Do you actually need this bike? This is the RC 390 and this has a 373cc engine. So why buy a Duke when you can buy a more reliable, more proven engine? So let's talk about the RC 390 of KTM. RC 390 has been here for a long time now, and this bike has a menacing look from the front. And I just love the new looking RC 390. Compared to the old one, it looks a little like dull and all. More plastics are there. But even though such things are there, this is a more raw bike compared to the Duke. This is the old seat of the RC 390. It was barely, you could sit on it. This new seat is more comfortable and it has a grab rail and all. The back pillion will be more comfortable with it. This is the overall front proportion of the bike. This is the handling gauge, the start button. It's a bit more basic actually, the switch gear in this bike. Even though it has a TFT display, it is a little more outdated actually. The newer one will be coming soon. This bike, buying this bike will be a very great buy at this step because you get a little more raw bike. This is the different modes on the bike's display. So as it is a little sunny out here, we have the motorcycle mode, the ABS switch on, switch off. If you go back again, there's the on off button. If you go back to the menu, there's like trip data, there's the settings, there's rider info. So this settings you can do quick selector 2, Bluetooth, display theme, shift light, clock date, units, language, service, extra functions. Extra functions is basically MTC and CABS. So when you go back, you can see this is the main screen. This is the exhaust of the bike. It looks like a cylinder basically, and it sounds okay actually. Yeah, and the sound is kind of like, this is the sound, you can hear it actually. Sounds kind of good, like, okay. Now this, we are gonna go for a ride on the bike. Let's see how the bike rides. So getting on the bike, it's very focused in. It is very much focused. It's very track focused. Like you sit a lot into the bike. Now riding the bike is performance heaven. This is the best second bike for you actually. When you're upgrading from a classic 350 or a Hunter 350 or something like a 200cc bike, this bike is actually the midpoint for you, where you start learning things. A 40 horsepower bike makes you learn a lot of things. Okay, so the back suspension in this bike, what I found is a little stiff on the road. And the seating position might be a little hard for you, but it is very composed that your wrists are very much strained. But I didn't find that much strain on the R15, but this bike is a little much straining on the wrist side. And this bike has a menacing look on the road. It has a huge road presence. You might have seen people in the RC 390 riding it like hooligans out there, just going outright full. You should understand one thing. We all should understand is that this bike is character is like that. It just asks you to go more and more and more. You just can't ride it slow. Like in the second gear, you don't feel a thing. You have to ride a little more. And through this traffic, it's a little bit hard to maneuver through the traffic, but that is understandable. The noise levels in the bike is kind of okay, because the heating is very much, but there's a balance to the heating. It doesn't get too much hot, but it is hot. Okay, that is manageable if you're not in city traffic. But the kind of, what do you say, the presence this bike has, it people look at it as if it is like kind of a super bike, like a 650 or something big, but it's not a bigger bike. Even for a single cylinder bike, this bike is very good in performance. Now, only good thing about this bike compared to the newer Duke 390, I would say, is that this bike has the 373cc engine. And 373cc engine is an older engine. It is more reliable. It is used in the Dominar actually, and the new Pulsar 400 is it. But the Triumph for Speed 400, Scrambler 400, and the T4 comes with the 399cc engine, which is seen on the Duke 390. So those engines have a little reliability issues, which KTM and Bajaj are fixing it. Actually, they're on the fix actually, but they're not quite there yet. But the 373 older engine is more, what do you say, robust, can take more hitting, like more, it can take more beating. One thing I liked in this bike is the one thing I liked in this bike is the quick shifter and the slipper clutch. The up and down quick shifter is amazing. It's buttery smooth. I think the Duke and this kind of is the same quick shifter actually. The Duke is a little more refined, but that doesn't make much of a difference. So this bike, basically, if you are commuting almost 50 to 60 kilometers daily on good highways, and if your use is more of highways than streets, this bike is a very good buy for you. Especially the KTM brand. It is a very reputable brand. There's nothing much to go wrong. And the Royal Enfield 650s, you can match them with this bike also. Like, yeah, that bike is significantly one cylinder is extra. It really has more run to it and more appeal to it. But this bike, actually, I don't know, I am a fan of sports bikes and like fair bikes. And this bike kind of gives you that step towards the bigger bike, like the super bikes, like the 650s and the 1000cc's. It's kind of a stepping stone. You can, and I know there are many YouTubers and many influencers who use this bike as track bike, or used to use this as a track bike. Like, if you know Sterl used to use a 390, not this one, the older generation bike as his track bike. Now he's changed it to a RTR 310. Now when you're talking about the RTR 310, the competition to this bike mainly is the RR 310, which is a significantly, like, I would say this bike is significantly better, because in case of vibrations, that bike looks better for me, the RTR 310. It is a TVS bike, so that Indian values are there. So this bike is significantly better in terms of the engine side.
No problem.
The refinement is better, and I don't know, the power is also more, obviously. It makes around above the 40 range horsepower, 42, 43 horsepower. Okay, and KTM's are kind of reliable. They are kind of cheap to maintain. Not BMW level expensive, but not Honda level cheap. But they are kind of cheap to maintain. And one thing KTM I don't like about KTM is the color scheme. I know KTM's color scheme is basically orange, but I don't like orange on my vehicle. It is very flashy. So if you can get a little bit detone the colors, but that cancels out the KTM DNA. Like if you can see this pull, see how the bike goes. The bike just at the RPM, the correct RPM, the bike just pulls so hard. and it's so fun to ride also. So we are, us and other team, we had this bike around for almost 1 hour. We had a walkthrough around, and we are having the ride now. So me and my team members, we all rode it, and I'll tell you, before riding this bike, my team, the team members, they were a fan of classic bikes actually. This team member, he was a big fan of Harley Davidson and Royal Enfields, and the way they look and the way they ride, until he drove this bike. Like, this is the first time he was riding a KTM. So that time when he drove this bike, he just fell in love with the bike actually. He wanted to daily the bike actually, but it is like, what he said is like, it's so good to ride. And you can tell how it is, like, the maneuverability is very easy for the bike. Like, if you can see this one, see how easily it will go. Okay, so no wonder Chapris use this bike actually. Like, not this bike exactly, they mostly use the Dukes and the RC 200. But this bike, from my experience of riding a 650s and the Ninja 650 and the Honda CBR 650s,
Take this U-turn.
this bike is literally a stepping stone. It just shows you how those bikes kind of are, but in a cheaper way, in a not that much high level of power, and burden is not put onto you, but you are a lot more relaxed with this bike. So it is a very good bike from a 200cc, 300cc bike, because this bike, and especially a fat bike, if you are more into motorcycling and kind of tracking rather than touring and stuff, this bike is best buy for you compared to the TVS one. So here we are going back to the dealership and kind of wrapping up the video. So one thing we actually would like is to thank KTM of Tambaram in Chennai for getting us this opportunity. So we'll be getting on with more actually, like with a more better review actually with the Husqvarnas and the newer KTM adventure bikes. So here we are back at the KTM dealership, and I hope you all enjoy this video. Like, share and subscribe for our video. Thank you.